All right. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Bashim Kakwadash. Second, I want to give double honors to the apostles, the G Master, rule of well, our beloved elders and teachers, and a peace, blessing, salutations to the whole free elect that consists of you so-called Negro, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans, West Indians. In the Lord's will, we be redeemed. In the Lord's will, our power and our Lord Yahweh Shah comes back and restores us and brings back righteousness in order on the earth, which is needed. Now, probably, I don't know what I'm gonna put down for this lesson, but it's gonna go into Revelation 13 and 11, which is, you're seeing things come to pass that's going back to ushering and the bringing back of the Roman Empire. The what is it? Revisiting, or the rebirthing of the beast empire, which is the Roman Empire. Now, I put in two homes like a lamb in the KJV, and it gave me the AI overview. So let's get this. So it says Revelation 13:11, and beheld another beast cometh up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And that dragon goes back to the Roman Empire, which it says describes a second prophetic beast, which that we know that the Roman Empire was going to fall, but was going to be what's the word? Was going to come back into power. So it said, this figure appears gentle like a lamb, but speaks with the authority and malice of a dragon. Now we understand Esau being a fugitive. Let me see something. What? How? Let me see something. What's the characteristics? All right, let me see. I'm going to go through this a little bit, because Esau paints himself as something that he isn't. He tries to come as, he's nice, intelligent, a hero, misleading, newspeak, trap, words that can trap you, and so forth. So it says, a fugitive, I asked, what's the characteristic of a fugitive? A fugitive is legally defined as any person fleeing a jurisdiction, hiding from law enforcement. And we understand the main entity and power he's trying to evade, which he isn't, is Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah. And that's pretty much why he's trying to blot out Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah. And he's trying to blot out the fact that we are the children of Israel, because you will look at the Bible differently than what you, in the eyes of a Christian or Christianity, because people will start to put two and two together. Or evading prosecution, custody to avoid legal consequences, they are characterized by a need for secrecy, including hiding in plain sight, using aliases, living alone, avoiding photography, and let me see. Active evasion. They are actively running from arrest, jail, or prosecution, often crossing state or national borders to avoid legal processes. And this is, when it talks about characteristic of a lamb, he comes off as, you know, he's helping you, he's bringing you aid, he's for your good purpose, but ultimately he's trying to trap you up. Matter of fact, let's do this instead of fugitive. Would hold on. So let's get this. I'm gonna do one better. How would an adversary act towards you trying to trap you? So an adversary trying to trap you will act deceptively, often masking hostility behind friendliness, using manipulation, gaslighting, or feigned emergencies to lure you into a vulnerable position. And this is what Esau is doing. He's using his system that he has in place, those snares and those traps. That's why the scripture talks about fret not about the advances of the wicked, because it seems as if they're winning, they're not ever going to be brought down low. But Yahweh Shem Shah has everything recorded. So it said they often act in their own self-interest, working to disrupt your goals, isolate you, or ruin your reputation through gossip and misinformation. And that's how Esau, the internet has been a heavy tool in these current days that we're living in. So let's see this. Here's how adversary typically acts when setting a trap. The bait and switch deception. They create an artificial crisis, like needing urgent help. Oh man, that's bad. Because Esau, he always come out. He has that little. I forgot that little that game plan he has. It's a setup. It's cause a reaction, cause a problem, and then bring a solution. She says to lure you into a compromising situation. And ultimately, we know what Esau is ultimately trying to bring forth is that MOTB, just like he brought in the COVID, and he made people crumble. I mean, he just bucked that majority of these people, and people fell. They fell to the ground. They became scared, and they took the jump shot. They may use gray zone tactics, pretending to be allies or neutral parties while working against you. And I'm gonna tie all this in, so bear with me. Isolation tactics. They will attempt to alienate you from friends, family, or allies by spreading rumors, gossiping, or manufacturing drama to make you seem untrustworthy. And that's ultimately what the so-called white man has done to our people, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, but mainly everybody here in America, the poor. Now, I'm not sitting here to be talking about we all need to get together, which would never happen because that's not the plan. But he's using and making the world believe that so-called blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans are the problem of the earth. But that's how a fugitive, that's how an enemy does. That's this system exploiting vulnerabilities. Everybody's broke, everybody's poor, everybody's oppressed, and everybody is overstimulated. They often strike when you are already tired. Tired, boss. The brother, Ayash Gabar, in the camp, he pretty much said, he went somewhere, and everybody they was out of it. They was tired. They were stressed. They had, like I said, they already tired, stressed, or emotionally drained. See that? It said during a big project or during a personal crisis, and everybody's having a crisis, man. Everybody is, wondering how they're going to pay these bills, because and man, this system is bullshit. The bills you have to pay, And in every 30 days, it's a recurring cycle, which is bullshit. But I think, yeah, start even the Roman Empire, that dragon, that's what came forth about those taxes, which was vexation. They broke people. So it says misdirection and false information. They may leak false information or provide fake leads to confuse you. And everybody's confused. Women are confused. Men are confused. They depicted a image for men to act, and then they ultimately depicted an image that how women should act. So one was a man to have just basically be freaked out, love the flesh, have no discipline, no morals, weak, etc., mentally weak. And then for feminism, for the woman to pretty much just love themselves and, the sexual liberation. So it says making you take actions that lead to your own downfall. Damn. And that in the TV going, that witchcraft, the sorcery, seduction, Revelation 17, these things uh, Esau has, incorporated in the system. Things, actions that lead to your downfall, those snares and those traps. Social and emotional manipulation. They may use flattery to get close. And that's that, those two horns like a lamb. They may use flattery to get close or try to induce guilt to force you into doing something you wouldn't normally do. And that's this system. This is mentally breaking. People are doing things that they know they will never bounce back from mentally. Women are, again, overstimulated and men are overstimulated. And they're involving in doing things and getting involved in things that is just not enough. There's no drugs in the world that can blot that, that that guilt. And one thing for certain, the love and the passion and the ambition and drive of trying to get rich, get the money, cars, the clothes, the hoes, etc., that has caused a lot of snares and traps. And these people don't even understand how money works, how the bank work, or how the elites operate. So going back to two horns like a lamb, so it says, and he spake as a dragon, described Salaki. This figure appears gentle like a lamb, but speaks with authority and malice of a dragon. And when you go to 2 Thessalonians, the second chapter, talks about how Esau considered himself as a god, But first, I'm going to just keep going. So, key details about the beast with two horns. This is the AI overview. Appearance versus speech. While having horns like a harmless lamb, its voice is that of a dragon, Satan, indicating deceptive, religious, or deceptive power. See that? And this is what Esau does. Everything is deceptive. The Republican democracy, even starting with the first president to this president now, all been deceptive. This whole system is deception. They demonized everybody else's structure. They demonized the USSR, Russia. They demonized communism. But here it is. They're bringing forth communism, and they're breaking the world. They're breaking the nations to usher in that MOTB, that system, this beast system across the four corners. That's why they're subduing. That's why they're breaking. They're putting embargoes, and that's why Esau moves the way he does. He breaks you down and then he pounces on you in the right time. It's like just like that eagle that represents the so-called white man. Actions. It exercises the authority of the first beast, the Roman Empire. If you know anything about the Roman Empire, they had a great military. So it's forces the earth to worship the first beast. And this is why, if you went to school, a lot of basically it's a great comparison between the Roman Empire and this modern day empire. You know, so it said to perform great signs, including bring a fire down from heaven, and that's ultimately going into what is it? Those nuclear bombs. Being able to you know, and it also is going to show signs and wonders. So it says purpose. It causes inhabitants of the earth to make an image of the first beast, and enforces the mark of the beast, restricting buying and selling. Ultimately, is going to be into that MOTB. So here it is. He's bringing forth that system. You know, that whole system he's brought. That old Roman Empire taxed you to death, etc. The bread and circus and etc. The melting pot. He has brought that system, but everybody knew it was a great thing to be a Roman. The same thing today. Everybody loves the fact that they're an American, and you get certain benefits. But overall, everything is going to change, and it's going to be, if you want to indulge in the system and continue indulging in the system, you will have to do what? Take the MOTB. Identity interpretation. Let me see. Often interpreted as a deceptive religious system. Yep. Or false prophet that supports the political totalitarian power of the first beast. That's right. Because underneath the guise of Christianity and Catholicism, this man has been able to, bring forth political and totalitarian power of the Roman Empire. So let me see. This is ChatGPT. If I was Satan, how would I break the people's mind? And so it says throughout history, whether you look at authoritarian regimes, courts, abusive relationships, or even propaganda machines, the same psychological tactics show up over and over. So going back to that first beast, the Roman Empire, the dragon. Here's how minds get broken or weakened. So one is isolation. Cut people off from family, community, alternative viewpoints. And that's why everybody, the social media, the 15-second videos, and everybody is just, ostracized, and everybody's weird. Family's no good. And it tells you that, what is it, Titus, the third chapter? Second Titus, the third chapter Titus, the third chapter, if I'm not mistaken. How it talks about in the last days, men shall be lovers of themselves. And all this came about because of what? This system. You can, again, man, it's so evident, everybody is just weird. Everybody is, thinks about themselves, and everybody is just, they're self-centered. Community, there is no community. And, again, alternative viewpoints. When somebody only hears one narrative, that narrative becomes reality. So Esau has it out there that it's a world for every psychological thought that you have that comes to your mind. It's a word for it on that computer. That's why also, you have AI and the pseudoscience, and, everybody can just live their own reality, which even if it's not right. But see, this is what this system brings about. But and then you'll have basically like a doctrine behind it. Esau will play like it's a doctrine. So, everybody has their own path, and everybody this and that, and everybody, it's so many gray areas. So two, fear as a constant background. Chronic fear rewires the brain. And you got to ask yourself, how is this the best country but has the most prisons? Everybody, the punishment, the jail, the fines. Here it is. You don't hear about the crime and the shit that you hear. You hear. Damn, here. Fucking English words, English language. The stuff that you would hear in America, you don't hear in other countries. So it's a fear of rejection, and that's a big one. Everybody is somewhat in a herd mentality as well. You know, and it's getting to the point where another thing everybody is ostracizing and is cutting people off, and basically nobody is together is because this, the fear of rejection. One man, woman, and different beliefs and etc. Man, everybody is just tossed to and fro. Fear of scarcity, fear of enemies. A fearful mind doesn't think clearly; it reacts. So this is why Esau can throw up in your face. Fear of punishment, fear of rejection, things that what you react to. Fear of scarcity, fear of enemies. This is why Esau can coerce people to wear and do certain things, because of fear. 3, confusion and contradiction. If truth constantly truth shifts, up is down, war is peace, you're free, but don't question. Over time, people stop trusting their own judgment. This is sometimes called gaslighting. And this is what Esau does, this whole system. Everything, it's a gray area, and everything's the opposite. Everybody's able to pull something out their ass. When you're trying to talk reality and truth, it's always a card you can pull out somewhere to question. It's bullshit. It's only one truth, but due to the American mindset, it's 1,000 and a million cards you can just pull out of thin air. And oh yeah, but I know somebody that, man, get the fuck out of here. So 4, shame and identity attacks. If someone believes I am worthless, I am incapable, I deserve suffering, they won't resist. Shame paralyzes. And this is, they've broken these people. These people are ready for, ultimately, this system is about to, they're ready to cut the Section 8. They're ready to cut the food stamps. They're ready to cut a lot of these jobs. AI is taking over. I was talking to my sister, and she was talking about how in her career, they're cutting off a lot of their positions, and they're merging certain things, and they're cutting, they're firing different people that's been there so they can move up certain other people so they can pay them less. It's just, these companies are changing, but ultimately the system is about to usher in. They're going to break you, and then eventually they're going to bring a solution. And they're going to shame you, and they're going to have these people basically just, they're tired and broken, and they're not going to resist. Actually, they're going to beg. And these people are going to eventually beg for a solution, and Esau's going to have that solution for you. 5, addiction and distraction. See that? Keep people overstimulated. See, and this is the problem with men and women here in America. You're overstimulated. Proverbs 25 and 28. What is it? A person that have no control over their flesh is like a wall. Let me just get it. Proverbs 25, 28. Let me see what it says. Yep. Proverbs 8 AI overview. Proverbs 25, 28. He that have no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. It highlights that a lack of self-control makes a person vulnerable to external dangers and internal impulses, much like an undefended city. It emphasizes the need for self-discipline, covering emotion, desires, and actions. So what are you vulnerable to if you don't have no rule over your spirit? You're vulnerable to this system. So it says vulnerability. Just as ancient cities required walls for protection against invaders, self-control acts as a defense against harmful situations and poor decisions. And see, and everybody's overstimulated, and everybody has no self-control. That's why you can't talk to people no more, because their mind is all over the place. They want the wrong things. They're just searching and seeking the wrong things. Women, these women are far gone to repair, and even these men. These men are simps. They're weak. They're, you talk masculinity or the purpose of a man, and it's just, it's not going to get you nowhere with a man. And, watching those red pill content, it just shows you. Men are trying to tell men certain things, and it just gets nowhere. All these men got girls on the platform, and they're trying to tell them sense. It just doesn't get nowhere. But hey, it goes back to this verse. Lack of control. The verse warns against having no what is it? Restricted command over one's own spirit, temper, or passions. Consequences. A person without self-control is exposed to and easily conquered by temptation and trouble. So there you go, Going back to addiction and distraction, 5 on ChatGPT. Keep people overstimulated. Constant entertainment, endless outrage, substances, dopamine loops. A distracted mind doesn't reflect. So instead of you looking at yourself, and that's one of the biggest thing about the Bible is to what is it? Reflection. What's the word? Damn. Man, I can't think of the word. But pretty much, like the scripture talks about, being able to look at yourself. So nobody takes accountability. Nothing. Why? Because they don't have to. Because you're overstimulated. You got constant entertainment. You got constant substances out here. You got constant dopamine loops. Drugs. Corn. Anything that the flesh wants in America, you can get. And it's on the drop of a button. 6, divide and polarize. Turn people against each other. There you go. And, here it is in America, the human, people, race, they always talk about equality, land of the free, America, no place like America, etc. But America is one of the biggest countries on this earth. Now here it is, you go to Dominican Republic, yes, you have certain systems, but overall, my point of bringing this out, you go to other countries, they have somewhat what the hell you call it? They have a neutral ground. And okay, you go to Iraq, and if something happens, the people can still come together because we're Iraqis. You go to what's another? China. If something happens in China, the people will come together because what? We're Chinese. But when you come to America, I'm gonna read it after. I'm about to read. So you turn people against each other, and this is in America. You got race issues here, you have class issues here, you have politic issues here, and you have religion issues here. Everybody, race is a great big issue here. Class system, yes, it's poor and the rich, so-called middle class, right? Politics, what? Left wing, right wing, what? Democrat, Republican. It's a lot. And these people are caught up in it. Religion. Man, you got every religion here in America, When people fight each other, they stop questioning the system above them. See that? And this is why these stupid people today, you don't even look at the system no more. You don't look at the so-called white, but see, that's the fugitive. You know, that's what the enemy does. That's what the system does. That's that two-horn like a lamb, and that's that propaganda. That's the agenda. That's the trickery. That's the niceness, the sweetness. That's that news speed. That's the ability to come off like something that you're not. Hopelessness. The most powerful psychological weapon is convincing someone nothing you do matters. Once hope is gone, resistance dies. And you know, hey, you know, we there. You know, nobody, the hope is gone, you know. That's why nobody is going to resist. Ultimately, everybody is going to beg and plead for a change, for help, for assistance. Once they really start shutting this system down, because the hope is gone now. You can see it on these people. These people ain't got no fight in them. They're overstimulated. They're gone. And this confident, this arrogance, this pride, these people walk around here in America is fake. It's not real. It's not real. It's not built off nothing. It's built off lies. It's built off stimulations. It's built off what you call it, addiction and distraction. You know, it's built off confusion, contradiction. It's built off fear. You know, these people ain't foolproof, man. These people ain't walking with a full deck of cards, man. These people are gone. So I'm going to wrap this thing up. Those will use certified. With that, I'm gonna say shalom.